gossip practice in the village, how they negotiate the factory by gossip. I don't know, I think Thai people love gossip a lot. And then I can find this in the village as well. Let's see the, thank you, let's see the Buddhist principles and the power of superstition. From the ethnographic finding show that karma or karma, they talk a lot about the words karma or karma when I have a conversation with them. What happened to the village? How are you? They always say this word. This is my karma. มันเป็นกรรมของฉัน They always say this. This is my karma. This is our village karma. อันนี้เป็นกรรมของประเทศไทย This is. It means that the cycle. หมดเวลา Time's up. Okay. I try to wrap up. It means that people thought the karma is in the village is very active in everyday thinking of them. But this belief did not lead to any practical action at all. But I want to show it because it gave a framework for understanding the suffering experienced by the factory, how they gave a framework. So let's see these examples. I found cases, very interesting cases in the village. The first one, and she is indigenous woman. She suffered from serious illness, and she believes strongly that it was caused by the poisonous air and pollution from the factory. That her belief. And then after a long period of curation, and she spent lots of money, and she said about 1 million baht for the curation. So she's not getting better at all. Finally, she practiced Buddhist meditation and practiced card fortune telling and became card fortune teller. This is the first case. The other case that I found is the peasant family, and they lost their lands because they were forced to sell to the industry, to the factory. They became the spirit medium, or which they call คนทรงเจ้า And I would say, I argue that this is negotiating practice by individual. And this practice gives them new identity and new status. Why? Because when you are God fortune teller, when you are คนทรงเจ้า so many people came to your house, give you respect, give you all the present, give you money. You are not poor people anymore. So you have more power to negotiate. You have more power to do things in the village. And they said, we are no longer poor and powerless people anymore. This is the point of view of the spirit medium. So I need to skip this one to the power relations, which is the last analysis. That finally I found that from the multi-method that I tried to use with this research, I found the response to change does not depend on only length of residence and age, but also depends on the power structure organized around the relations between three major groups of patrons. The first one is local capitalists or businessmen. The second one is community leaders, and the third one is local politicians and state officials, with the villagers as clients of all three. If you notice, you can see the word patrons and client, which is very influential. I mean, practice, I don't know, in Thai society. What does it mean, power relation? It means that these relations are organized hierarchically in Thailand. It means that if you are indigenous resident, it doesn't mean that you always resist globalization. It depends on what kind of relationship you have with capitalists, you have with community leaders, or you have with the local politicians. If you are teenagers in the village, it doesn't mean that you always favor globalization. It depends on what kind of relationship. If the factory supported you, for example, in indigenous families, I found that in indigenous family always support and favor to the factory as well. So it depends on what kind of relationship they have. So at the end, conclusion, I would say that the quantitative research provides, yes, patterns of religious behavior in general, but the finding from focus group interview and ethnographic work point that power relation is one of the important factors which affect attitudes and respond to local people on globalization and localism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gunalo. Now the floor is open. Any questions or comments? If not, maybe Dr. Gunalo maybe can tell us more about gossip is the most important part for Thailand. Okay, please.
Thank you for your interesting presentation. It is very impressive about your research methodology with the participation and also the interview. I have, I think, 2 questions to ask you. It's quite a general question. The first one is, how do you define globalization? Because I have seen that this word is used a lot these days, and there are a lot of approaches towards globalization, and normally we use it like for capitalism, individualism, and commodification. I'd like you to clarify more on your definition of globalization. And one more thing, I'd like to know your position, how you think about globalization itself, because from your presentation, it seems like we have more bad impacts from globalization rather than some good impacts. But since we have to live in this world that is globalized already, I think, how can we live happily, or at least not happily, but yes, in harmony with globalization? Thank you.
Thank you very much. For the first question about the definition of globalization, have a look at this one. I know you're going to ask this. So, yes, globalization is very controversial, topic, and there are so many approaches as well. For my research, I just try to narrow down, or I try to give importance to 4 areas, which is industrialization, media, shopping malls, and infrastructure. Why I give this more importance into these 4 areas? Because yes, because the industrialization in the ethnic area gave very much influence and negative consequences, but also positive as well to the village. And also now, and the media area, which is I didn't talk today, but is also very influential factor as well. And also urbanization, which include consumer culture in this area. They got lots of shopping malls emerged at that time, 1990s. So this is the definition of globalization. And for the second one, how I think about globalization, I need for about 3 days to talk. It's a very difficult question. I love globalization in terms of when I search or when I try to get knowledge, when I try to collect data from the media, social media or any technology, yes, I like that. But in Thailand, I found I think we face kind of very bad consequences in many parts of Thailand from globalization, if I define it as industrialization. Anyway, yes, you are right. We live in a globalized world, so we have to do something. We should try to do something that at least adapt to them. Yeah. So yeah, a part of I agree with you partly. Yeah.
Okay, the last question from Ajahn Craig, please.
This is also a sort of question about definition. This word superstition always bothers me because I can't really think of a term in Thai that means superstition. It's not sayasat. Sayasat is something else. And the examples you give, like gam, well, good Buddhists believe that gam has something to do with their belief. So that doesn't seem to be superstitious. And the reason I think this term is unfortunate is that there's a huge divide now in Thailand, this rural-urban thinking. There are some people in Bangkok who think that people in the villages and the provinces, the remote places, are stupid. They don't think, or that they're not clever, or that they don't know how to manage their lives. When in fact, they're very inventive sometimes. They're very entrepreneurial. I know about a village near Chiang Mai where they've had to respond very quickly to changes in this globalized economy. They were selling garlic, and then cheap Chinese garlic came in. They had to stop planting garlic, and they have to grow beans. So they're very clever. So I think this word superstition is a little unfortunate and may reinforce some prejudices of people about how they think about the rural Thailand.
Yes, thank you. Let me explain us a little bit about gam or karma that I just talked. I'm sorry about the unclear talk just now. I didn't mean that gam is superstition. I mean that the belief of karma or gam is a belief that it was very active in the villagers' thinking. But it doesn't lead to any practical action, but just gave a framework for understanding when they want to reinventing new identity. They always, for example, if you read the interviewing of the indigenous working age woman, she said now karma returns to the factory It is so much bad karma. It took advantage of the villagers, took natural resources which are owned by the public, and it has appropriated nature privately. It is selfish. And they also think that themselves has karma has come. So they suffer by them and they want to try to do something. And that's why they try to practice, or they try to change, from my understanding, to change identity. And this, they have to, and they tell everybody that they have to use spatial sense. It's not, it's natural sense, spiritual sense that ordinary people don't have. For example, they are Khon Song Jao, so they have spiritual sense. This is superstition. It's not Gam. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Jones and Dr. Unalom, for such interesting and illuminating presentation today. And in this hall, we still have a special lecture after this program. I'm not sure whether we can have a short break. After this, please take your time for a short break before a special lecture. Thank you everyone for joining this panel.